Hello and welcome to a fresh edition of Science Monitor, your weekly update on what's happening in the field of science, technology and innovation. From exhibition on superbugs to power generation from biogas, we have lots in store for you. But first a look at the headlines. At COP14, India aims to make a barren land fertile by 2030, focus on green jobs and clean energy. A travelling exhibition on superbugs aims to create awareness about the increased antibiotic resistance. The real and magnetic north unite in Greenwich after 360 years. Biogas becoming a better source of alternative energy, power generation and fuel for vehicles from organic waste. The degradation and desertification of the land is a matter of concern across the globe. Many people have lost their livelihoods due to such effects of climate change. To tackle this problem, 196 countries participated in the 14th session of Conference of Parties held this year at Greater Noida in India. Before the closing of the conference, the parties agreed on various decisions to mitigate the effects of land degradation and to improve the affected ecosystems. Let's have a look at the report to know more.
Drought has always been a problem for the farmers, and the incidents of climate change have added to the impact of this outbreak. Every year, many areas of India endure drought, and this results in the desertification of fertile lands. According to the figures, 30% of India's geographical area has become desert, while this figure is 23% all over the world. To address the issue of desertification in the change scenario, the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification was established in 1994. The 14th Conference of Parties to the Convention was hosted by India that concluded recently in Greater Noida.
I thank the Executive Secretary, Mr. Ibrahim Chiao, for having brought this convention to India.
The conference lasted 12 days and reached many decisions regarding the achievements of the Sustainable Development Goals, with a focus on reversing land degradation and fixing the critical gaps in land management.
This Conference of the Parties is for the first time looking at how do we really mobilize the money, the will, the political sort of influence to make this happen. So it is actually a very important subject.
More than 3,000 delegates from 196 countries, representing governments, community groups, industry, NGOs, scientists, and others, took part in the conference and enriched the conference with their comprehensive insights. The deliberations among the participants were crucial to reach a final set of commitments.
Such events do give us opportunity to reflect back, focus on this theme, and also identify the best practices and agendas for action.
In the conference, several sessions were organized to plan the role of science and technology to tackle the problems of drought and desertification. Many scientists and subject experts participated in these sessions and shared their experience and ideas.
We are trying to work as a knowledge center on the ground where we can facilitate the solution of the problem which the communities are facing, and at the same time also to link it with the governmental institutions and the research institutions, how these problems can be sorted out at the local level with the community, and how the communities can be empowered in terms of developing their own technologies.
The conference set target goals for the environment till 2030, making barren lands fertile and focusing on green jobs and clean energy are the main goals. As India has taken over the presidency of Conference of Parties for 2 years, so it will again host the event in 2020.
Misuse of antibiotics has given rise to antibiotic-resistant bacteria, also called as superbugs. According to the experts, the superbugs are seriously affecting the global public health. Therefore, there is an urgent need to create awareness among the masses to stop the unnecessary and inappropriate use of antibiotics. In just such an initiative, a travelling exhibition is being organized in India by the National Council of Science Museums in collaboration with the Science Museum Group, London. Let's have a look at this report to know more about this exhibition.
Antibiotics were invented in the last century to treat infectious diseases caused by the bacteria. And there is no doubt that these drugs have enabled us to treat various life-threatening conditions. But today, antibiotics have come under a threat, and ironically, the threat is posed by bacteria. According to the experts, rapid misuse of the existing antibiotics has led to the evolution of antibiotic-resistant strains of bacteria, also called as superbugs. In order to create awareness about the same, the National Council of Science Museums, working under the Ministry of Culture and the Science Museum Group, London, has organized an international exhibition called Superbugs, the End of Antibiotics. This exhibition has also been organized in other countries, and now it will stay in India for a year to educate masses about the threat of superbugs. The exhibition is also supported by the Wellcome Trust of London and Indian Council for Medical Research.
Antibiotic resistance is a really important issue for the whole world, probably more important than many other technological and cultural issues that we face today. And we believe that through communication, through inspiring young people to understand the issues, that we can help solve this problem and help save lives.
The exhibition was inaugurated at the National Science Centre in New Delhi on September 6th by Dr. Harsh Vardhan, Union Minister for Science and Technology, Earth Sciences and Health and Family Welfare.
ये बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट इनिशिएटिव है जिससे हमारे बच्चों को हम ये बताना चाह रहे हैं कि एंटीमाइक्रोबियल रेजिस्टेंस का क्या इम्पोर्टेंस है, उनके ज़रिए हम ये पूरा इन्फॉर्मेशन पूरे पब्लिक को देना चाह रहे हैं कि कैसे हमें एंटीमाइक्रोबियल रेजिस्टेंस के लिए जो एंटीबायोटिक्स का मिसयूज़ है उसको रोकना चाहिए.
The exhibition is divided into 3 sections called Microscopic, Human and Global. Microscopic section focuses on the hidden world of bacteria. The human section deals with the stories from India on challenges of antibacterial resistance. And the global section explores the initiatives to search new antibiotics or alternate ways to tackle this problem.
सुपरबग के बारे में जान के फिर फाइनली वी नो कि हाँ कुछ ऐसी चीज़ें भी होती हैं जिनके बारे में हम नहीं जानते हैं. हम एंटीबायोटिक का डोज बार बार बैक्टीरियाज़ को दे रहे हैं तो वो बैक्टीरियाज़ भी जो होते हैं उनके रेसिस्टेंट हो जाते हैं.
सुपरबग्स के बारे में जब वी आर अवेयर सो डेफिनेटली वी विल आल्सो ट्राई कि हम लोग एज अपकमिंग जनरेशन्स हम भी इस बारे में और अवेयरनेस क्रिएट करें लोगों के बीच में.
This exhibition will be held at 4 places in the country during the next 12 months. At the National Science Centre, New Delhi, Nehru Science Centre, Mumbai, Vishveshwaraya Industrial and Technological Museum at Bangalore and Science City, Kolkata. Apart from this, 48 vans of National Science Museum will also be used to organize mobile exhibitions in 21 cities. Overuse of antibiotics in medical, veterinary and agricultural sectors has aggravated the problem of drug resistance. So, cooperation and collaboration is needed at every step to find a solution to this problem. The exhibition is a welcome initiative as it serves the purpose of educating the masses about the threat of superbugs.
It's time for a short break. Keep watching Science Monitor. We'll be right back. Welcome back after the break. You're watching Science Monitor. Researchers at IIT Delhi have developed an innovative technology to convert biogas into a source of alternative energy. This technology converts organic waste into biogas, and the biogas is then used to generate power and also to produce fuel for the vehicles. Let's have a look at the special report to know more about this innovation.
Our country is producing thousands of tons of waste on a daily basis. Out of this, a big part comprises of bio-waste or organic waste. Researchers are coming up with new technologies to convert this waste into alternative sources of energy. The Centre for Rural Development and Technology at the Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi, has also started a biogas plant to convert organic waste into clean sources of energy and fuel. The plant is also the centre for research concerning the production and development of biogas.
This is a technology where we convert the biomass, biodegradable waste, into gas, that is basically biogas, and it all goes through anaerobic digestion process. That is like in absence of oxygen, the material will get digested and ultimately form biogas, which is mainly contains methane and carbon dioxide. So the methane part, that is useful for us, that will burn and it will use as a fuel.
The organic waste coming out of the IIT campus is collected every day. Then this waste is sorted and crushed into smaller pieces with the help of a crusher. After this, the waste is transferred to a tank and mixed with water. Then, it is transferred to a gas plant where the organic waste is decomposed in the absence of oxygen and biogas is produced. This gas contains 45 to 70% methane and about 30% carbon dioxide, along with some other gases. Methane is a flammable gas that can be used as a fuel and can be used directly for cooking purposes. Biogas is purified by passing it through a water washing tower, which gives up to 90% methane.
The raw biogas, which contains CO2, H2S and some other gases, we remove those gases using water scrubbing technology, and we produce ultimately biomethane, and that biomethane is work as a CNG, it is basically bio-CNG, and that is being used to run our CNG vehicles.
This plant at IIT Delhi is currently producing electricity by running a generator with pure biogas. Besides this, the gas is also being used as a pollution-free substitute for CNG in the vehicles. The researchers have also used it successfully to operate a small tilling machine in the rural sector. This technology has not only provided a solution for the waste management, but also created a new source of alternative energy which can reduce pollution and provide healthy atmosphere to everyone.
Now let's have a look at some other developments happening in the field of science and technology in our segment Science Express.
According to the new information given by the ISRO, the communication loss with the lander Vikram happened at a distance of 335 meters from the lunar surface. This can be the reason that the lander is said to be in good shape in spite of its hard landing on the moon. Now ISRO as well as NASA is trying to establish a communication link with the lander. If the connection is established, then the lander and the rover may start functioning again. India successfully tested indigenously developed man-portable anti-tank guided missile MP-80GM from a testing facility at Kurnool in Andhra Pradesh. This is the third successful test of the missile system that is being developed for the Indian Army's need for a third-generation anti-tank guided missile. National Science Film Workshop was organized from September 9th to 11th in Bhopal to promote scientific understanding and thinking in society through science films. Famous science filmmakers and experts train students from all over the state in this event, organized by Vigyan Prasar and Public Relations Society.
अगर वो पौधा थोड़ा सा डैमेज हो जाता तो आपको थोड़ा सा दर्द होता और फिर उसको अगर बचाया जाता तो ये चीज आपको ज्यादा है.
On this occasion, Jagan Shakti, director of the film Mission Mangal, also gave tips for better filmmaking.
You know, and one more thing is that film medium, whenever you get, you should use to give new information. Naya information चाहिए.
The Department of Science and Technology has called for the entries to participate in the Avsar program, augmenting writing skills for articulating research, or Avsar, is a science writing competition for the PhD scholars and the postdoctoral fellows in science and technology stream. The aim is to disseminate Indian research stories among the masses in an easy to understand and interesting format. The top stories will get a cash prize of 1 lakh. Now, the blind may also be able to see. Scientists at Swiss Federal Institute of Technology, Lausanne, have developed a new technology that completely bypasses the eyeball and sends messages directly to the brain to restore vision to the blind. According to the scientists, stimulation of the optic nerve was achieved by using a new type of intraneural electrode called optic saline.
It's time for another short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back soon. Welcome back once again. You're watching Science Monitor. Scientists at the Royal Observatory Greenwich are about to record a very interesting and historic development during this month. According to the experts, around the mid of this month, geographic North Pole and magnetic North Pole of the Earth will become one. According to the geomagnetism researchers, this phenomenon is happening after 360 years. Let us see the report to know more about the science behind this phenomenon.
Our Earth has 2 North Poles. The first is the geographic or the true North Pole, and the second is the magnetic North Pole. While the true North or the geographic North Pole remains fixed, the magnetic North Pole shifts according to the magnetic field of the Earth. The presence of molten iron in the Earth's core and the constant rotation of the Earth around its own axis are the reasons behind the ever-changing magnetic field of the Earth. So, generally there is a gap between the true North Pole of the Earth and the magnetic North Pole of the Earth. A compass needle generally points at the Earth's magnetic North Pole. The angle a compass needle makes between the true north and the magnetic north is called the angle of declination. As the magnetic field changes all the time, so does the declination at any given location. According to the experts at Royal Observatory Greenwich, the angle of declination will become 0 sometime during the mid of this month. And the true north and magnetic north will unite after a gap of more than 3 centuries. According to the scientists, this alignment should last only for a few weeks as the ever-shifting magnetic north has picked up the pace in recent years. Over the past few hundred years in the United Kingdom, the declination has been negative as all compass needles have pointed west of the true north. Now, after a few weeks, scientists are speculating that the declination will become positive and the compass needles will point east of true north. The rapid shift in the magnetic north may not cause any change in routine trips of common people, but people working in the field of serious navigation like transport business or defense sector need accurate world magnetic map to continue their operations in the right direction.
And now let's see how this week contributed to the field of science and technology in our segment History of Science.
On 16 September 1987, Montreal Protocol was adopted by several countries to prevent depletion of ozone. It was intended to reduce the production of substances that are responsible for the degradation of the ozone layer. It is called the most successful international agreement on environment and was amended further to reduce and completely phase out all kinds of ozone-depleting chemicals like hydrofluorocarbons, carbon tetrachloride, methyl bromide and many others. On 19 September 1783, the French Montgolfier brothers held a public demonstration of their hot air balloon flight. A basket was attached to the balloon to carry its first animal passengers, a sheep, a rooster and a duck. The balloon floated for about 8 minutes carrying its passengers and landed safely after covering a distance of 3 kilometers. On September 20th, 1970, Russian moon probe Luna 16 landed safely on the moon. This was the first landing made on the dark side of the moon. The spacecraft was equipped with a television camera, radiation and temperature monitors, telecommunications equipment, and an instrument to collect soil sample from the moon. This probe stayed on the lunar surface for 26 hours, 25 minutes and returned to Earth with a sample weighing 101 grams. On 20th September 2004, India's educational satellite EduSat was launched by GSLV F01 from Satish Dhawan Space Center in Sriharikota. The satellite built by ISRO weighed 1,950 kilograms and carried 6 Ku-band and 6 C-band transponders. The aim of the satellite was to train teachers and to provide primary and secondary education by linking classrooms across India. This was the third launch by the GSLV. English chemist and physicist Michael Faraday was born on 22nd September 1791. Michael Faraday invented the magnetic effect of electric current. In 1831, he demonstrated the principle of electromagnetic induction, which was a landmark in the field of applied science as it helped in the development of dynamo or generator. He discovered that a strong magnetic field will rotate the plate of polarization of light, and this phenomenon is also called the Faraday effect.
That is all for this episode of Science Monitor. Do tell us how do you like our program. You can send your feedback and suggestions on our email ID news@vigyanprasar.gov.in. You can also write into us at Vigyan Prasar, 5th floor, Prithvi Bhavan, Lodi Road, New Delhi 110003. We'll be back again next week with fresh news stories on science and technology. Till then, stay tuned and think scientifically. Bye-bye.